Go it. Yeah, do it.
Are we all set?
Yeah,
Great.
live.
Yay.
Hello,
Here we are.
everyone. Welcome.
We're a little late.
Hey,
We're
sorry,
sorry.
we're a little late. Sometimes, as you might know, we're broadcasting from our Creativity Center in Lansing, Michigan, and sometimes we get a little busy out on the floor, and so I forgot something in the back, and anyway, so sorry we're late.
But we actually were pretty organized
we
this
are.
time, so that was why I was kind of surprised.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden,
this part was organized, but
Yeah.
the outside this room was not organized. So, anyways, welcome.
Here we
Thanks
are.
for joining us. We're back again, so it's Val and I'm Roy, and we want to talk to you.
One week I'll say it, but
Will you say
not
it?
for a while. I'll
Okay.
surprise everyone when I'll introduce us. But.
We want to talk to you about the Creative Images color slide. So in our last video, if you didn't get a chance to see that, we were talking about the photo fusing paper. So it is on our YouTube channel. You can
It was riveting.
see all of our videos there. That's what people are
Yeah, I know.
saying.
That's what we're
I'm
hearing,
pretty
that
sure.
it was just unbelievably exciting.
Or you can just go to the video section of our Facebook page, right, and you can see it there. But that prompted. So we were talking about doing these photos on the glass, and it prompted this product, which is a little different, right? I mean, it's similar but different. Mm-hmm. And so you can. The advantage is you can do color, as you'll notice. Like a lot of the images on the table have all this really nice color to them. It is not, I guess, to me, I think the biggest thing is it's not as permanent as what we were showing last time, right? Would you agree
I
with
think that, well, yeah, with the photo fusing, it really becomes part of the surface, and so it really does, it would be very difficult to scratch it, don't you think,
Oh,
or
yeah.
do anything
It
to
totally is.
the actual photo fusing deal. But with the color ones, we treat them way differently in terms of temperature. They can't, you cannot do it in a full fuse or even a slump because you'll burn up the paper. But so this is one of those, after your piece is completely finished, you put this color decal on, and then you mature it in an oven. You could actually use your own oven. I mean, it's like 375 or something. But like Roy was pointing out, to just hold it up, like, grab me that one that doesn't have anything on it.
Yeah.
Because these were things I brought from home that I had, and they were just a series of different kind of patriotic things, and they didn't have anything on them. So we just, printed this USA, and with the color slide paper, and then we're going to show you how to do it too,
Yeah,
right?
we'll show you.
Well, it's a decal situation, where just like the photo fusing, you float it, then you put it on your glass. But the thing about this is that it isn't, like Roy said, quite as permanent. So, and even if I turn it just a certain way, it blends in really, really well. This one looks really good. But if you do catch the light just a certain way, I don't think you'll even be able to see it, Kaylee. But it does, you can see that it's on the surface and not melted into the surface.
Yeah, and you can see the edge of the decal. So I know
Yeah,
that, like,
I can see it this way, Kaylee.
when it's so what's important to remember is that
It's a square.
that when you're cutting it out, you want to cut into, I think, at least a definite shape, so it looks like you planned it. I mean, if you just take a pair of scissors and kind of hack around the USA, it'll look like you just took a pair of scissors and hacked around it. So,
Yeah, and this one, can I just say, because she was
Yeah,
showing
go
a
ahead.
close-up
Oh, yeah.
of the tree. So we did this tree when we did, and we didn't grab it, and we said we were going to. What is it, CMC?
It's the glass clay product, which is the...
Which we did a whole video on it, didn't we, Kaylee? I mean, so
Yeah.
it's somewhere in
I
our...
can link it in the comment section.
Okay, that'd be
that'd be
nice, because it is kind of fun. People think that it's kind of neat. It's just it's just a material we mix, and it tends to make the glass. You mix with glass powder, and it tends to make the glass like Play-Doh almost.
Yeah.
So this, before we put the leaves on with the color slide, was just simply the tree and the branches that we did with that clay, and so it looked like it was the perfect opportunity to add some leaves to it, and so that's what Roy did. We printed the leaves, on the color leaves on the paper, and
Yeah, we got a couple of them laying right here, right?
Cut 'em
So
out
we just
and-
printed them out. I found some clip art. So again, one of the nice things is, I'm sure you're all familiar, there's a lot of free and available clip art online, and so I found some things that was going to fit, right? I could change the size of them a little bit, and we just printed these, cut them out. One of the things that I was talking about, again, I mean, if I took this like it is and put this on the glass, you would see this faint outline of this. So instead, when I went in, I just cut around the leaves. I try to, you leave a small border as possible, which I think just makes it look a little bit better. You don't notice it as much on the or where the decal's at. So the tricky thing about this, again, like the photo paper we talked about last time, was that printer is important. You have to use a specific printer. So this color slide we just refer to as the color slide paper. It needs you need to use a laser printer. So a color laser printer, obviously, but not an inkjet printer, which, a lot of times the less expensive printers that we have at home are probably inkjet. That won't work. What happens is that it'll just wipe off onto the surface. But so it has to be a color laser printer.
Mm-hmm. And this is on our website, too, along with the...
Yes.
Right,
yeah.
I'm just saying, if you want to download, these are the instructions, and this is what I did. I just downloaded it off our website.
And I guess I just realized also we didn't bring a package. Did we?
I have one. I can get one.
Oh, Val has a package. We just want to show you what the paper looks like, because sometimes it gets, if you're not familiar with it, it has one surface is shinier than the other, so that's the side you want to print on. There comes 10 sheets in a package, and that's pretty loud. That was loud.
Was that loud?
No.
Oh.
So it comes like this, right? So 10 sheets in a package for around $20, I think $19.95 if I'm not mistaken, which is, I think, a pretty good deal, right? $2 a sheet.
I'm not sure.
And then the other thing is what you'll want to do is definitely print on the entire sheet, right? So we have some of the, one thing that Val and I always do is we print it first just on paper, just so we have an idea that we're getting the size we want or making sure everything looks the way we want it to before we commit to the printing onto the laser print.
And you can do the size, you can do the fitting in and everything
Yep.
and make sure. But this
and then
is
normally
just
you
plain
would
paper.
fill the whole page, right? I mean, here you see I got this empty spot here, but normally I would have just filled it with something else because it is, if you just print on one part and then think you're going to use the rest of it and stick it in your printer, for us it's never really worked well. It tends to get that little half sheet gets stuck in the printer. It did for me anyway several times. But one thing that it's also important to know is that so what comes with it is a piece of wax paper covering the surface, and sometimes it is stuck on there pretty good, and you might not know that there's a surface on there. So if you look at both surfaces, you'll see they look kind of matte and kind of dull. So one side has to be shiny. So you can see I've started to pull this one up. Mm-hmm. And if you look at the surface, you can see it's a lot shinier, right? And so that's the side that we're going to print on. One thing you don't want to do is to not necessarily just throw this away, because once you print on it, the print is pretty delicate. You have to be careful not to scratch
with the
it.
ink, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to kind of, it's a little vulnerable. So often around here, after I print them, I always just put this back on top as I carry it around, or sometimes I even hold it on there as I'm cutting it, just so I don't do anything to it. We have a couple of these actually have some, if you look at this Halloween one real close, there's a couple spots here where it got rubbed off. We were storing this upstairs somewhere, and I think it just rubbed against another piece or something. So again,
so the actual finished image isn't necessarily, entirely permanent. So you
Sure.
wouldn't be able to
Yep.
scrub it or clean it, or and you want to be careful about rubbing anything against it, because that will come off, unlike the other, right?
I mean, you could wipe it off with a damp cloth or something, as long as you weren't, getting aggressive with it. The other thing is, this one didn't show so well. I guess I cut it off, did I? But this one that I printed, this tree, you can see it's a pretty decent sized one. Yeah. So this is part of the top piece I just cut off, and you can see that some of the ink. This happens. So this is some kind of plastic film, so the ink sometimes can smear just during the printing process, and so that's what happened here. And it affects the image a little bit. I don't know how close that shows up on there, but it's, especially where the tree's at, looks a little uneven in tone, a little uneven in color. Again, it's pretty subtle, but just something to be aware of and to be a little careful of. I know sometimes for me, when I'm doing lots of printing, sometimes I'll print a regular white paper, just regular copy paper in between some of these, and then let some of the stuff that smears come up on that paper, if that makes any sense, right? And then do it. But this is one that we decided not to use as a project. We used this tree instead that Val did over there. Pretty nice, right? But I'm going to show you how we're going to float this in the water and then attach it to a piece of glass. So again, one thing you want to be careful of is, now, the thing to remember here is everything that's white here is going to be clear, so it'll be the color of the glass. So some people sometimes think, well, I can leave some of that on because you're not going to notice it. But again, I think it helps or makes it looks a little better if you at least control how you're cutting it. I always cut it with just a little bit of a border, just so I don't accidentally cut into the image. And just trim it back. So again, it looks like something that you planned. Let me finish it up here on this side. And then we're going to put it in the water. Now, one thing that Val and I, it's riveting, isn't it?
Yeah, I am.
Wow.
I'm mesmerized.
I know Val was like, that guy knows how to use a pair of scissors. Okay,
Should
like,
we
can I
move this
carry
a
this
little
without,
bit for the time being?
Yeah, without. So then you just put it in some water, right? So sometimes what happens when you immediately put it in, especially when the image is pretty big, the whole thing rolls up. So I just kind of pull it back out. And if you hold it for just even a few seconds, to let the paper backing soak up with some water, it'll has a tendency to lay a little flatter. Now, one thing that Val and I were just talking about was that what we've noticed is we've worked with these materials for a long time, and sometimes you have to soak them for like 30 seconds or longer. And in fact, I think our directions even online say in warm water, for 30 seconds, because obviously the warm water just makes it go a little faster. But I can tell you, we don't have any warm water in the room, so we're just using pretty cool water, to be honest. And it's taking seconds. I mean,
it's already floating off.
Yeah, it's already floating off. It's like taking 2 or 3 seconds. I don't know if you can see it. One thing you want to try to avoid though a bit, if it floats up off the paper, then it becomes a challenge to get it out without wrinkling it a whole lot. But I don't know how well you can see, but it is floating off in spots. So I grab it underneath where the paper's at. That way I can hold onto the film, and then I pass it off to my assistant.
Oh, you want me to do it? Okay.
And then I'll
move this so Kaylee, I don't know, Kaylee, tell me if you can see. Okay, so then what we like to do is, you don't want to take it from here and try to pull. If I'm going to slide this up or down or move it, I'm going to use both fingers so that when I push this up, I don't know if you can tell. Okay, so once I know it's moving like that, then I leave the backing on and I just kind of put the paper down so that top 1/4 of an inch is down, and then I kind of just gently hold it, and then I slide this out, and then that just helps me not flip a corner up or anything. Yeah. So that's kind of a good way to do it. And when it is this wet still, you see how it slides? So once again, I'm supporting it with both fingers or both hands so that I'm not just pulling it from one corner. But so don't worry when you first put it on. Don't think, oh my gosh, I got to get it completely centered. Because you don't have to. You just don't have to, because you have plenty of time to slide it around. So, let's say that looks pretty good. We'll just go that way here. What do you think? Is that good?
Looks good to me.
And then, I've got a few wrinkles or maybe a little pockets of water under, and you're going to show how to...
Yeah, so a lot of times what we'll do is take a paper towel, and then we'll come in, and I like to pat it and start from the center and kind of work my way out. So if I was doing it, I would do this and work. So I'm working the water out to the edge. You don't want to really rub it, as we've talked about a few times now, that the image is a little delicate. So if you rub it, you run the risk of kind of rubbing it off. But Val, I think, just came up, was it yesterday?
Yeah,
right?
I was just trying to...
She came up with this ingenious idea, I think.
I know.
So
I love that little roller.
This tool is a little roller that's used for doing copper foil. It's a way of burnishing the copper foil onto your piece for the stained glass people out there. And then so she was using this. So again, we're using a paper towel to help protect the image, but also to absorb some of the water. And then starting in the middle, if you just kind of roll it and roll it out towards the edge, you can see where the water is,
pushing the water
out. So it's, yeah, no, it's
nice, huh? Yeah.
It's actually really quite nice.
Because I am always really worried about, we did this when we did the photo fusing. I tend to start in the middle with the paper towel and then just kind of gently push. But it's not that great of an idea. It really isn't. And you were saying you just tap.
Yeah, I'm more of a
which
tapper.
is good. But then sometimes when tapping isn't as consistent to get all the little pockets. So this seems to work pretty good, and it doesn't seem to smear or violate the ink. So yeah. Plus, when I did a lot of stained glass, I always used that. I love that tool.
Yeah, it's actually
I love it.
I don't use it that much in the stained glass world, but yeah, do you see it? Right, so pretty nice. I mean, pretty flat. I don't know how easily you can see it, but there are no trapped air bubbles or trapped water pockets. As Val pointed out earlier, we got rid of any little wrinkles that were in there because they'll show up if you leave little wrinkles in there. Now, the recommendation is we would let this dry overnight before we would do something with it, and I think Val and I both don't do that. But
we really don't. But, we weren't just being radical. I think if I remember correctly, the many years ago we got this product, we initially got it and were playing around and testing it, but they hadn't sent the instructions yet. So we just got used to doing it the way we do it, and it was successful. And then later we got the instructions that say, let it dry overnight. And it also says, cap it with a clear.
Well, this you're not going to cap with any kind of clear.
Yeah, oh, no, you can't. So, but I mean the other one. Those were the two different things that we don't do. So.
Yeah, so we don't let it dry, so I don't anyways. I mean, you could, I guess, if that made you feel better, but otherwise, this goes into, as Val mentioned earlier, an oven or your kiln, and I think the directions say 365 degrees for like 10 or 15 minutes. So we did, I can tell you, we did this one, I did it at 360 because whatever reason, that's just what I picked in the controller in 10 minutes. And you can see that, again, things are on there fairly permanent. Again, it's not super permanent, right? This is gonna, last forever, especially if you're doing a lot to it.
376, is that what you said?
Oh, they said 376.
Yeah,
oh,
376.
Yeah, I don't know why it's such a specific temperature, but
because you just made that
I
up.
did this at 360.
But I mean, when we say they're not permanent, it's kind of misleading because it really is, unless there's some sort of aggressive thing to it, But I mean, if they're just gonna. I mean, it's not like they're going to go away if they're just sitting in a stand or something. But even with regular fused glass plates and things, too, you don't want to be sliding them together or anything.
Well, I can tell you, so the other concern that I might have is you'll notice that, so we also have some stained glass projects. We don't just have fused projects on the table. We also have stained glass, which I think is a great use for it. You can see this piece down here with the bevel basket that has those lovely flowers in the back, right? And this piece is, I think we were just talking a little while ago, right, Kaylee? It's like 8 or 9 years old or something.
I mean, you can see that it's scratched a little bit from being upstairs, but...
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, we probably don't...
And this was a learning opportunity, too. Like, you can see where some of that soldering iron touched. So something... I don't know if we touched it up afterwards, so that definitely you want to put it on after you're all done, because the heat will...
Yeah. So did we make that point pretty clear?
Yeah, and then there's also this little box that Julie makes. Somebody that Julie no longer works for us, but worked here for a while, and pretty creative person doing this. So to me, one of the nice things about this particular product is, again, it's another product that's a great way of personalizing something, right? Making something really unique to you, or to if it's a gift for the person you're giving the gift to. So doing things like that was like a photo, I think, of her dad or her grandfather or something. Or you could do words or images.
Sports logos.
Yeah, sports logos. So I actually, we're in, again, Michigan, if you're not familiar. Yeah. So I did this one that has two of the bigger universities here in
I noticed
Michigan.
which one you put on the top.
Did you see? I put
go green.
I put the Michigan one on top.
I see that.
One? So,
I see that.
I mean, we're like 5 minutes from Michigan State. So, but this one. So what I didn't have. I ran out of time, which is often happens for these things. And I was just going to put a border around the outside of this. Val mentioned doing a.
You could do bevels.
I was going to do cathedral glass and do green here and blue here, because we often, in the state, have people that have some loyalty or family in both directions, right? So this is sort of my solution to that, right? Is you can have both logos on there. But again, I mean, I got those, maybe I shouldn't say, but it was just a clip art, right? And then just downloaded those and printed them off. So
it's like the Halloween one, so it's a little candle shelter.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, a little candle goes in the back, which would be kind of fun. So yeah, this one was assembled pretty easily, right? Nothing too super complicated.
And that one, like you say, has a little mark on it that's gotten knocked off, but that one's old too. That's quite a few years old.
Yeah, we've had that one around, and then, like I said, we store all of our stuff like upstairs, and I guess maybe we didn't do such a great job storing it. But again, if you're careful with it, it should. I don't see why it shouldn't last for a long time.
Yeah.
The stained glass ones, as I mentioned before, one of my concerns was maybe the if the sun's shining on them every single day, that might affect the color fastness. But again, I know that that one that Kaylee did there is like it's 8 or 9 years old. So it looks really pretty good, right? I mean, the color looks really pretty good. Again, I mean, it hasn't been out in the sun for 9 years straight, but
we try to switch things up.
But still, yeah.
Yeah, and still
it was in a window.
Yeah, one of the things too is that often, because I deal with the photo fusing one quite a bit in some of the classes, and well, you do too when you teach that, but. Often the thing is people will say, well, can it be in color? And it's like
Oh,
this
yeah.
particular process cannot be, but this is what this is. The tree here is just a photograph of a tree in my backyard. So that's one thing I think we forget that you can use it for. I mean, so you want a color picture of your grandkids or something.
Yeah.
I mean, once again, we talked about how permanent they are, and they are a little bit subject to scratching. But I mean, if you're just going to sit it on your
Yeah, I'm with you,
counter
right? I mean-
with the picture of your grandkids, you can do it in color with this process. So that's what I think is kind of fun too. So not only clip art and logos and names. If later on, we were talking too about, because I used a couple of these things that I've used years ago. So you pick it up and decide, oh my gosh, well, my friend Mary would love that. And then you could use this to put her name on it, or
you could just add something to it.
Yeah,
after
because
the
it is
fact,
just
so.
this, 376 degrees. Is that what they say?
That's what they say. 376.
Not
I'm not
75.
sure. I'm not sure why it's so specific.
Yeah, I know.
But
So
the point is, mainly you're kind of just melting the plastic film to the glass is what you're doing. And again, not getting it hot enough to burn anything off or alter the color. But
Yeah.
like I said, I did these. I know at 365 if we wanted to really know the temperature. But
Oh man.
so.
Okay. Well,
I don't know what else.
I
but-
think that's kind of covers it. So.
Well, if you have questions, you can always reach out to us afterwards. You can email us at facebook@delphiglass.com, or you can send us a message on Facebook or Instagram. Or you
Good
can
job.
contact
You're
Val.
getting really
Am I
better
getting
at that. Yeah.
Or you can contact Val at.
Yeah.
Thanks again for
Yep.
joining us. And I think we think in 2 weeks we'll probably be back again. Again, as always, don't know what the topic's going to be. But if you have ideas, feel free to reach out to us. And we do appreciate, comments and suggestions.
And we appreciate people who watch.
Yeah, we appreciate people who watch.
We think we might have about 10 people now.
Yeah, we think we're maybe up to 10.
I think
So,
so.
I mean, we have Val and I both work in the store, so we get people that come in periodically and say, "Oh, I watch your videos," and we appreciate that, and information was good. So thanks. We
do
appreciate that sort of stuff.
We appreciate hearing that. Yeah.
We're happy to help out. So
Yeah. Yep.
So we'll see you guys in a
See you
few
next
weeks.
week. Yep. Next time.